to legends arisen, where history breathes and greatness echoes through time. In a world ruled by chaos and comfort, one ancient civilization stood apart, unyielding, disciplined, and forged by fire. The Spartans weren't just warriors, they were the embodiment of a mindset, a way of life built on sacrifice, honor, and This is not just a tale of ancient war. It's a lesson for anyone striving to be unbreakable in a fragile world. Welcome to the Spartan mindset. They were the embodiment of a mindset, a way of life built on sacrifice, honor, and unshakable. This is long before trains or airplanes ever existed. A single road, dusty, dangerous, and unpaved, stretched across continents. It wasn't built with concrete. It was carved by footsteps, hoofbeats, and the relentless will of those who dared to journey between worlds. This was the Silk Road, not just a trade route, but the lifeline of empires. Spanning over 4,000 miles, it connected the East to the West, weaving together cultures, faiths, and fortunes in a way the world had never seen before. But it didn't begin as one grand highway. It began with a simple exchange: silk for horses, spices for silver, and from that spark, a fire of global connection was lit. Through barren deserts and towering mountains, from Xi'an in China to Rome in the West, merchants risked their lives to chase not just profit, but purpose. But trade was only the beginning. Along this road came something even more powerful than gold: ideas. The Silk Road wasn't just paved with silk and spices, it carried something far more enduring: the power of thought. As goods changed hands, so did philosophies, religions, and sciences. From the heart of India, Buddhism flowed eastward, finding fertile ground in China, Korea, and Japan. Persian mathematicians shared knowledge with Arab scholars, who in turn preserved and expanded the teachings of ancient Greece. These were not accidental exchanges. They were deliberate, courageous acts of carrying light across shadowed lands. A Chinese monk named Xuanzang risked his life to bring sacred Buddhist texts back from India. Centuries later, Islamic scholars translated and preserved Aristotle, Euclid, and Galen, ensuring that Western civilization would one day rediscover its forgotten roots. On this road, faith met reason, and knowledge became the ultimate currency. As Rome expanded, its internal social divisions grew sharper. The patricians, the elite aristocratic class, continued to dominate political offices and control wealth. Meanwhile, the plebeians, ordinary farmers, artisans, and soldiers, through persistent protests and political maneuvering, the plebeians gradually won significant concessions, including the right to elect their own representatives, the tribunes of the plebs, who had the power to veto unfair laws. The 12 Tables, Rome's first codified laws, also emerged from this, yet the traders, monks, soldiers, and scholars marched on, driven not just by gold, but by a mission. Many didn't make it. Those who did became legends. Because walking the Silk Road wasn't a journey, it was a test of will, endurance, and faith. And those who passed it returned, changed forever. As Rome's territories grew vast, so did the influence of its military commanders. Generals like Marius, Sulla, and later Julius Caesar commanded not just armies, but also loyalty that often rivaled the state itself. Their victories brought them fame, wealth, and political power, blurring the line. The Republic's institutions struggled to contain this new concentration of power. Civil wars erupted, pitting generals and their supporters against one another, tearing the Republic apart from within. Julius Caesar's crossing of the Rubicon River in 49 BCE marked a pivotal moment, an irreversible step toward. These cities weren't just stops along a route. They were living proof that when cultures meet, something greater emerges. Language, art, science, and religion didn't just survive here, they flourished. From silk scrolls to paper currency, from medicinal herbs to musical instruments, the world was being rewired, one trade post at a time. After years of civil war and turmoil, Rome found stability under the leadership of Octavian, later known as Augustus. He cleverly balanced tradition with innovation, presenting himself not as a king but as the princeps, or first citizen. Augustus reformed the government, military, and infrastructure, creating a centralized system that could govern the sprawling empire efficiently. His rule set the blueprint for future emperors, blending autocracy with republican imagery to maintain public support. The empire's new order allowed Rome, but control came at a cost. Protecting the trade routes meant building armies, forging alliances, and waging wars. Fortresses were erected, treaties were signed. Even the mighty Mongols, centuries later, would understand this, turning the Silk Road into their empire's beating heart, ensuring safe passage for all under their banner. The road, once walked by wanderers, was now paved by politics. Trade shaped diplomacy. Diplomacy redrew borders, and the world began to shrink. Rome's empire was more than just military conquest. It was a melting pot of cultures, ideas, and innovations that shaped the ancient world and beyond. Roman law, with its emphasis on justice and citizenship, laid the foundation for many modern legal systems. Architecture and engineering marvels like aqueducts, roads, and amphitheaters showcased Rome's The cultural legacy of Rome endured long after its political power faded. Its ideas about governance, law, and society influenced the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and the foundations of Western civilization. Rome's empire was not just a chapter. Every step a merchant took was unknowingly fueling innovation. Every scroll carried, every tool shared, every story told, a step toward the future. The Silk Road didn't just link lands, it linked minds. And from that, civilization evolved. Despite its grandeur, the Roman Empire faced mounting challenges over the centuries. The Western Roman Empire fell in 476 CE, marking the end of ancient Rome's political dominance. Yet, the Eastern Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, preserved Roman traditions and power for nearly 1,000 more years. Rome's fall was not just a collapse, but a transformation. But the final blow came not from land, but from the sea. As ships grew mightier and navigation more precise, European explorers carved out new ocean routes. The age of maritime empires had begun, and the Silk Road, slow, risky, and costly, was left behind in the sands of history. Yet what it left behind was far from forgotten. It had rewired the world, seeded civilizations, and proven one truth: connection creates greatness. Though the Roman Empire fell centuries ago, its legacy continues to resonate throughout modern society. Concepts of republicanism, legal systems, architecture, and engineering all trace their roots back to Rome's innovations. Beyond politics and law, Rome's cultural contributions influence art, language, literature, and philosophy. From the Renaissance to the present, scholars and leaders have looked to Rome for lessons in leadership, resilience, and vision. The story of Rome reminds us that while the Silk Road taught us that distance is no match for determination, that progress begins where borders end, and that the world is richest not in gold, but in shared wisdom. It wasn't just a road, it was a revolution, one step at a time. The Silk Road is long gone, but its lesson echoes louder than ever. The world moves forward when people move together. From camel caravans to satellites in orbit, one truth remains unchanged. We rise by sharing, not by standing alone. As we walk our own roads today, may we remember the courage of those who dared to connect a divided world, one dusty mile at a time. Legacy is not what we keep, but what we pass forward. Be a bridge. Be the thread.